The Bucks will be facing a totally different Panthers team than week 2. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this defense has come into its own since that game?
Well, I think the most obvious thing is the pressure that we've been able to generate on the quarterback. I'll start with that. And byproduct of that has been the takeaways that have come. Those things have been timely. They've been really good. So that's probably the biggest thing. We still need to do a better job with our run defense and limiting some of the explosive plays. But I think the pass rush has been probably the biggest thing between the first meeting and this one.
Eric, you got Mario on a career pace right now, 6.5 sacks. What's different? Is it the scheme, or is it something you're doing with him differently? Or
well, he's just winning one-on-one. He's doing a good job. He's working as hard as he has in all the years that I've had an opportunity to work with him. I think Mario's getting better. I think he's learning from some of the experiences that he's had. He's able to benefit from some of the other younger rushers and the pressure that we're generating from other areas. And so I just think that this doesn't surprise me what he's doing. He's assumed a leadership role in that room.
32, trying to secure your future for another contract. I mean, that's the age when you're just hoping to get to play again. What do you imagine that would be like?
I as long as I've been around Mario, it's never really been about that. I think at one point Mario was in a position where he was really learning from some really good pass rushers, Charles Johnson and then Julius Peppers, and I think he's gradually kind of come into his own in terms of being able to assume a leadership role and learn from some of the experiences that he's had. He's playing fast. And again, with our system, we depend on 4 guys being able to be in factors with the rush, which frees him up. So excited for him. Hope it continues.
Let me interrupt you. As a defensive coach, I know you guys aren't specifically game planning for Tampa's defense, but
Right.
What about Shaq Barrett's season so far really stands out to you? I mean, have you been able to watch much tape and see why it is he's been able to have the success that he has so far?
I haven't seen a lot of Shaq. I know that he's been highly productive so far, and it's hard for me to really comment on why he's been productive. I just know that he's been productive, and hopefully that doesn't continue on Sunday.
Eric, what were you most disappointed in, if anything, from that first meeting with Tampa Bay?
Well, I thought, there were some points that we conceded and gave up that we quite frankly shouldn't have. They ran the ball in for a touchdown, and we pride ourselves on our run defense, and that's not something that we ever want to see happen. And then there was another red zone touchdown that we gave up. If we're in a little bit better position and the rush is a little bit better, I think we can limit them or force them to possibly kick a field goal if we can't take the football away. So the points in the first game, I thought if we could have done some things a little bit better, maybe we keep the points in a situation where we have a chance to win the ball game at the end.
And have they changed much offense? I know it's only been a month. As you
Right.
look at them in their more recent film, pretty similar to when you saw them in week 2.
Very much so. We've got a lot of experience with Coach Arians, and so he's a person that's committed to the foundation of their offensive philosophy, and they're going to run that and run it until it produces the kind of results that they desire. The one thing that I believe is a little bit different is Winston has hit on some explosive passes. I mean, he was a little bit more conservative going into our game in terms of really targeting the intermediate routes. And lately, he's got 8 or 9 passes of 29 yards or more. And so he's completing, some of the explosive passes. They've done a nice job. So that's probably the biggest thing.
Coach, when you think about Tampa Bay's offense, you think about Mike Evans, but this season Chris Godwin has been their go-to guy.
Sure.
Was that something you were expecting week 2, and now going into this rematch, how do you plan for him and Mike Evans at the same time?
Well, they've always had a tandem of receivers in Tampa. I mean, Mike's been a big part of what they've done in terms of his production and what he can do, and now they've got a complement to him. He's getting a lot of targets, And he's a person that the run after catch factor for him is huge. And so we're going to do a nice job against him, against Godwin, of making sure that we play our technique and we keep him in front of us. And he's also a pretty good point of attack blocker. He's a very aggressive blocker. So one of the things that we've noticed.
You looked at the film of Jacksonville. Where did Minshew hurt you guys with the passing yardage? Where did that happen?
Well, he was able to extend some plays on us, and that always puts you in a tough position regardless of the coverage concept that you're playing. The longer the play goes, the harder it is to maintain the kind of proximity and leverage against the receiver in your particular area. So that happened a couple of times, and at the same time, we were able to, the rush stayed hot, it stayed active, and we sacked him twice, but both sacks produced turnovers that we were able to capitalize on as far as scores were concerned. So he's just a like I mentioned when we were talking about him before the game, just a lot of poise beyond his years and experience in the NFL. So, and also the accuracy. He's a pretty accurate quarterback. He gets rid of the football in a hurry, and he's able to hit his targets. So.
Coach, on those sacks, Brian Burns obviously forced a fumble on one, recovered another one. Did you expect him to have this kind of productivity this early in the season as a rookie?
What I expected was for Brian and any player, rookie or even a veteran player, to just continue to grow and get better. And with his talent, you do anticipate that we should get a certain level of production from a guy with his kind of talent. When that happens, sometimes it's different. But we're excited about what he's been able to do, and there's a lot. And he'll be the first to tell you that there's some things that he can get better at, just watching the tape. But tremendous athlete, that's why we drafted him. And his attitude is probably the best part of who he is right now because he's listening, he's receptive, and he's working hard. So he's doing a good job.
Eric, you've mentioned in the past how it's so important for you guys to get to win those one-on-ones when you're bringing 4 men, because that allows you to not have to bring the blitzes, because if you can win the one-on-ones, you can still get the pressure that you desire.
Right.
Is another factor in that the ability to have guys like a Mario, a Brian, even a Vernon, F.A., that you can move along and put along the defensive line and sort of disguise in that manner as
Certainly.
well?
The versatility really helps us. And you saw that, kind of pay off for us on Sunday. And that's not the first time Mario's aligned at an interior rush position. But, the environment is totally different. So he has to go from being a wide rusher, and that's a specific environment, to playing in that position where things happen in a different fashion. And so for him to be able to transition from one position to the next, from one situation, whether it's first or second down to third down, is a tremendous compliment to him, and that goes a long way, just in terms of what we talked about at the beginning with his production.
Eric, it's only Tuesday, and I think today was mostly a walkthrough, but how encouraging was it to see Dante out there, and how optimistic are you about his shot this week?
Very excited to see him out there. Anytime you can get a player of his caliber back on the grass, and you can start to envision him being on the field on Sunday. That's a real positive sign. So he has done a nice job addressing his ailments and being proactive and aggressive with those things. And so things are looking positive, and hopefully we see him out there on Sunday.
Just a institutional way of thinking, when you are looking at an offense and they have one player, maybe it's DeAndre Hopkins or Larry Fitzgerald, somebody, or David Johnson, somebody that is kind of the core of their offense, Christian McCaffrey for you guys, is when you're trying to tilt the defense one way, how do you do that? Or can you do that? Do you do that?
Yes, you can. You can definitely. We definitely have tools within our package to try and address, a player, of the Christian McCaffrey caliber, and sometimes you have to employ those schemes and tactics, and then away from that, you have to really count on that particular player winning. He has to win one-on-one with very little help, and so those are things that you have to try and do to try and limit the impact that a player like that can have, and also to give the quarterback some different looks. Because sometimes, quarterback is at being able to anticipate a certain coverage concept and he looks over, that's not there, he holds it, and that helps us. So we do have ways of kind of tilting our coverage concept or our defense in the position of a guy like Christian. You have to.
Luke, when he swats down that final Gardner pass on the game on Sunday,
Right.
doing that rather than going for the pick, is that just fundamentals? I mean, is that just straight coaching and not wanting to risk it or anything? I know he said I wanted to go home, but is that just the fundamentals of it all?
Yeah, absolutely. And when if a player intercepts a pass and in that situation, 2-minute, meaning we have the lead, then we instruct the player to go down if they're in a position to end the game. But when the ball is going to go into the end zone, we want to knock it down and not risk any ricochets or anything like that. So that is definitely a situational plan, a situational awareness that goes to fundamentals.
Good. Great. Eric, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.